Hi guys, hope you all had a good spring break. We are continuing with our digital learning lessons this week. Today we are just doing some review, then tomorrow we'll be starting some more stuff, and we'll actually be starting food webs and food chains later on this week. But for right now, we're just doing some review. So this is looking at some things that you guys learned before spring break. So we're looking at our vocabulary words. All right. So one of the first things we did last week was abiotic and biotic factors. So just to refresh your memory, abiotic factors we know are non-living parts of an ecosystem. So we'll get to some examples in just a second. And then biotic factors we know are all the living things in an ecosystem. And the example we'll look at in a second has some misconceptions that I saw on some of the work that you guys did last week. So some abiotic factors examples, obviously water, sunlight's very important, especially for plants, oxygen, and any gases in the atmosphere. Temperature would also be an abiotic factor, as well as the soil. So there might be living things in the soil, but the soil itself is not living. Some biotic factors, we just finished our unit on classification, so we know that all the 6 kingdoms of life, those are all living things. So we know that protists are living, like algae. We know that fungi are all living, like mushrooms, animals as well. And then biotic factors can also include things that came from a living thing. So that was a misconception I saw last week in one of the activities that you guys did. I had people put leaves on the ground or tree limbs as abiotic factors, but they're actually biotic because they came from something that was living. So things like dead leaves, fallen tree limbs, or even animal poop would be biotic factors. All right, so looking at the levels of organization, this was also something you guys did last week. So we know we drew our pictures. So we know that organism is the lowest or smallest level in an ecosystem. So that is just one single living thing. So our picture shows us one crocodile. The population level is next. So that's a bunch of that one kind of thing. So here our picture showing us several of these crocodiles. A community level then is all the different populations in an area. So hopefully you see that we're building here. So a community level would include all the birds, all the different grasses, all the trees, all the other organisms that live in this swampy kind of water environment. An ecosystem then is all the living plus all the non-living things. So an ecosystem would not only include all the different populations, but also the water itself, the temperature, the sunlight, those kind of things as well. So ecosystem is abiotic and biotic. And then the biggest level we know is biosphere. So it's essentially the whole earth. So just looking one more time, we have organism, population, community, ecosystem, and then biosphere. An important concept that we need to make sure we understand also is that abiotic factors affect biotic factors. Some biotic factors can also affect other biotic factors, but we'll get there once we start talking about all the different interactions. So for now, just looking at an example here. So an abiotic factor affecting a biotic factor could be things like plants. Plants depend on sunlight. They depend on sunlight to be able to complete photosynthesis so that the plants can grow. So plants depend heavily on sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to be able to do photosynthesis so that they can grow. So those are 3 super important abiotic factors that impact a biotic factor like a tree or any plant. Things like the amount of space, water, shelter, those are all abiotic factors. Those all affect how big a population can get. So remember, a population is a group of all the same kind of thing. So these factors are what we call limiting factors. So again, this is something we'll expand on later on, but just to give you an example, anytime something gets built, a new neighborhood, a shopping mall, anything like that. Anytime land gets cleared or a forest gets cleared, that's a great example of how an abiotic factor, like a building, affects all the living things that were in that area. So there's a huge decrease in the amount of living space in this example for all these living things that were found in this area before the mall was built. So that's a good example of an abiotic factor affecting a biotic factor. So hopefully that was a good little review for you. So your assignment for today, it's on Google Classroom. So again, if you haven't gone to Google Classroom yet, the codes are all on eClass, as well as I also invited all of you. So you should just be able to click join when you go to Google Classroom. There are 4 quick review questions to answer. It's all in a Google Doc in your Google Classroom. Once you submit that work, you're all done for today. Tomorrow we'll be starting Meerkat Manor. Meerkat Manor is a TV show that was on several years ago on Animal Planet, but we'll be watching several episodes of Meerkat Manor as part of our ecology unit. So have a good day, guys.